Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding updates on the Bud Light boycott, where their parent company, Anheuser-Busch, has lost over $3 billion with a B after they decided it would be a great idea to work with a trans activist and put him on the can of Bud Light, which has been major pushback, and I'm sure many of you have heard. But not only have they lost $3 billion, but now Dylan Mulvaney, the trans activist, has come out and pushed back against critics and say, well, you just don't really understand me. Wait till we break this down for you, folks. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. If you don't know what to write something simple as good morning, good afternoon. Just write whatever you feel, folks. YouTube wants to see you interacting with the channel, and it basically forces the algorithm to push our videos out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel, so your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Well, trans activist Dylan Mulvaney has hit back at critics after his Bud Light campaign, insisting that they don't understand me and have made him a target because he is newly trans. But I always thought, Dylan, you felt this way. I always thought this was something at the date of birth, basically, that you were always a woman inside. Isn't that supposedly how you felt your entire life? In an appearance on Rosie O'Donnell's podcast, Mulvaney, who has just completed 365 days of, quote, girlhood, said, the reason that I think I'm an easy target is because I'm so new to this. I think going after a trans woman that's been doing this for like 20 years is a lot more difficult. I think maybe they think that there's some sort of chance with me, but what is their goal? Our goal is for not just about the trans community and pushing the whole lie that you could just switch genders and that there's an actual reality and importance of pursuing truth, but it's also the fact that it's your community that's trying to castrate children and indoctrinate children at such a young age, going all the way down to kindergarten, teaching them how to masturbate through cartoons, showing them how to masturbate in the classroom, actually grooming them, helping them through their transition process without the parents knowing. I mean, the list literally goes on as to why there's pushback, and our end goal is, again, to seek after what is truth and not have you castrate children. If this is what you want to do, Dylan, that is your life. But the fact that you're trying to push us on children and making it seem like it's something that's normal when it is not normal, and I wish you all the help that you can get on helping you through whatever you're dealing with mentally, but it isn't true. And that's our problem with this whole thing, is that we're supposed to opt in and play into the reality basically by force in some occasions, to this kind of fantasy world that you're living in, which isn't, again, true reality. Here's another quote. These people, they don't understand me, and anything that I do or say then somehow gets taken out of context and is used against me, and it's so sad because everything I try to put out is positive. Well, I mean, not everything you try to put out is positive. I mean, just the mere fact of you being a spokesperson for the trans community and making it seem, again, like you could switch genders and that it's a normal thing and that we should all be accepting of that normal thing, again, that goes against what actual objective reality is, within itself isn't very positive in my mind. If you want to be a grown adult, which you are, and do the thing you want to do, hey, all for it, man. Do whatever you want to do, but don't make it seem like I have to opt into this false reality of which you've created. It's trying to connect with others that maybe don't understand me. It's to make people laugh or to make a kid feel seen. There you go. There you go. Making kids feel seen. It's always talking about kids. You notice that? Like, it's almost, whether it's a drag queen story hour, it's drag queens in general, pushing this LGBTQ community aspect of the trans idea upon our children. It's focused solely around kids. You notice that? It's even Dylan Mulvaney's come out and acting like a kid on camera, you know, prancing around and all this stuff, putting in pigtails to make it seem like he's a teenager. It's insane. So while Mulvaney has struggled, basically, or struggled, not just struggled with the whole idea of this, but also shrugged off criticism, the sting appears to be more lasting for Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light's parent company has lost more than $3 billion in market cap in recent days. It's close to $5 billion as of right now, folks. It's insane, and nobody's lost their job over it. The beer giant was worth $132 billion on March 31st, its highest market cap all year, by the way, after a string of well-received ads from the Super Bowl featuring Miles Teller and his wife. Miles Teller, if you recall, was in the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise. Very patriotic move on his part, and just movie in general. By April 3rd, after they created a partnership with Mulvaney on April 1st, so 2 days later, Bud Light fans started sharing their distaste for it. Kid Rock kicked off his rage, basically, with some gear and showed him shooting up some cases of beer on that same day. I mean, the pushback was insane. Just yesterday, Anheuser-Busch share price dipped to almost $64, wiping out $3 billion plus of company's value. And what's amazing here is you have the VP or AVP of Bud Light pushing this whole narrative before, and I'm sure many of you have seen this this clip of her. But let's just hear what she has to say in her agenda. Mind you, there's a rainbow cloud or rainbow just in the background. Could be done by a son or daughter. The reason why I say son or daughter is because, look, these people tend to push their ideology upon their children. So you could have a biological male or child in her family. And now because she's pushing this whole agenda on all us, as well as her children, she's going to probably call her son a her. It gets all confusing. Let's hear it.
Businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
So bratty, fratty, mismatch, momatty, addy. I mean, this is the stuff they're going to push here. And one thing we have to understand, you guys, and hopefully companies in general understand this, and there's also companies that are understanding this as well, what I'm about to say, and why they're not hiring these woke leftists. They are willing to take billion-dollar losses to push this agenda. That's one thing that we have to understand, is that they are willing to do this. And how do we know this? Look at Disney, you guys. How many movies has Disney pushed out and still are pushing out, all in pursuit of this woke agenda and this diversity agenda, even when you have the woke leftists themselves going, yeah, it's really awkward. It's not a good look what Disney's doing. But Disney's still willing to push it. We see this with Ariel, making Ariel now black. You see this with the Lost Boys, but it's not Lost Boys anymore in the new Peter Pan movie, the live adaptation of it. It's now, there's girls in the Lost Boys. You have an Indian Peter Pan. I mean, you have a black Tinkerbell. It's kind of a slap in the face to black people, because you're just replacing a white person with a black person. And if you were to flip it on the other end, I would still be upset. If you were to change a black character and then make them white, I would be bothered by that. I mean, you have Moana coming out, a live adaptation with The Rock. And I said, look, if they change the lead actress of Moana to a white girl, I would not be a big fan of that, because the character was already built around a specific ethnicity and race and culture. So when you switch it, that throws everybody for a loop, and it doesn't make sense, and you're just throwing it into everybody's face. But the point, again, is that they are willing to make and inherit these losses all for a specific agenda. And what's even more amazing is that VP of marketing has not lost their job. Nobody's lost their job in marketing. You just cost the company $4+ billion. Even if it was $4 million, that would be insane. You got Travis Tritt here, other artists who are deleting Anheuser-Busch products from their hospitality writer, might not say so in public for fear of being ridiculed and canceled. I have no such fear. A lot of people in the back end are literally just getting rid of Bud Light. And there's places where they've seen their sales of Bud Light that were about 80% over any other beer completely flip-flop, where people are choosing any other beer than Bud Light on an 80% differential now. And by the way, can I just mention this, you guys? And I'm sorry for those that drank Bud Light or Budweiser or this beer. It's not good beer. You want to know what good beer is? I got the shirt on right here. Stone IPA, baby. Double IPAs, triple IPAs. How do you think the beer gets so full, folks? I'm telling you, it's not from drinking Bud Light. That's for sure, okay? Bud Light's just not good beer. Fight me in the comments. Fight me in the comments all you want. Bud Light is piss beer. I'm sorry. Okay? You got to have like 4 beers. Like 4 Bud Lights is equivalent to 1 Stone. Okay? This makes real men, folks. I'm not sponsored. I got like 8 Stone. I mean, it is like Disneyland for me to go to Stone Brewery, folks. If you hadn't had a Stone IPA, double IPA, their Rune Nation, or their Arrogant Bastard, or their Rune 10, which is a triple IPA, you're missing out. Seriously, go down to like your local liquor store and just go get some. Crack one open for me, but don't support Anheuser-Busch here because of what they're pushing. Because it's not necessarily the fact that marketing wants to basically reach a broader audience. Every business wants to do that. But again, you're supporting a community that wants to go after your children, that's transing your kids, indoctrinating your kids in the school system. It would be different, slightly different, if you wanted to be an adult and do your own thing without pushing it on children. But also, you're going to sit there and kind of downgrade and diminish your market group, your focus group of men who drink beer and want to have a good time, watch football. But yet the same people that want to sit there and denigrate football, pushing all this LGBTQ Pride Night stuff, which is ruining the league, pushing in this whole everything's racist, but yet you have a bunch of people that are making millions of dollars on the field that are saying that they're being oppressed by racism, is ruining the league. So again, it goes further than just Dylan Mulvaney on a Bud Light can. It goes way further than that, but they don't see it whatsoever, but they'll still push it, you guys. They're still going to push it because, like I said, they don't care about the losses up to a certain extent. They'll spend billions of losses just to push this whole narrative until something's going to change. We'll see when that happens, but it's up to you to go and make that change by not purchasing Anheuser, Bud Light, and the assortment of other beers that want to push this agenda. Well, moving into our next story of the day, Northern Ireland police confirm security breach around Biden trip after documents were found in the street. It is so amazing to me that the Democrats and the progressive left want to go after Trump and talk about his Mar-a-Lago raid, where literally you had Biden for decades having classified documents in his house, in his house library, next to his Corvette in his garage, of which Joe Biden thinks it's like more safe than Fort Knox is in Area 51 for some reason. It is baffling how many security breaches we've had. You just had the Pentagon have documents leaked about Ukraine, where supposedly, you guys, we have special forces in Ukraine, meaning we have boots on the ground. If you want to piss off the Russians and create a World War III, you got some idiot in office that's willing to make that leap right now, meaning Joe Biden himself, that can't keep some documents off the streets of Ireland. You are so close to World War III, it's head spinning. And I'm not being extreme in terms of my words. I am telling you right now, if this guy keeps effing around, he's going to find out real quick with China and their drills. Of course, we joked about the other day because of the animation the Chinese release was ridiculous. Them wanting to do, they are looking for a reason. And Joe Biden's trying to give them that reason because he's an idiot. And somehow he keeps getting voted in. And he wants to run in 2024 and Democrats are all for it. He's the greatest president that ever was. This guy's awesome. He's done so much good. But they can't name a single thing. Police in Northern Ireland are admitting to a security breach after a document reportedly containing details of an officer's deployments in the city of Belfast, where President Biden is visiting Wednesday, was found on the street. It almost seems, you guys, like this is a family vacation. I mean, he literally brought Hunter Biden and the rest of his family on this trip. So I think they're using this whole diplomacy thing and foreign policy idea of just meeting our allies and meeting with other nations, meaning Ireland, as an excuse just to go on a family vacation. I mean, he's talking about visiting a site where his grandfather or whatever sold bricks to a building that they're going to go visit. I mean, it's so stupid. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, folks. It would be supporting the show and the channel. Leave a comment down below as well. Do you think Joe Biden is capable of running in 2024? Simple answer, yes or no. Let us know down below. If you're writing in the live chat, folks, again, live chat doesn't help with the channel. As to why, I don't know. I'm not YouTube. YouTube is fighting us left and right on everything, literally everything. Big tech companies are not for conservative Republican folks. So having the algorithm and kind of going around that human involvement of YouTube helps out tremendously. So please leave us a comment down below. It really does help again. Quote, we are aware of a security breach, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, PSNI, told the news agency in a statement, adding they believe the man found an operational order which has information about an officer deployments in Belfast. An investigation has commenced, and we have notified the senior information risk officer. I don't even know it was a thing, to be honest. We take the safety of... Sorry. You know, when you have somebody that starts off saying, we take the safety, you automatically know it's going to be ridiculous. Yo, I'm sorry. This is why I love politics. It's literally comedic to me. It is so hilarious sometimes. You guys, I haven't read the whole thing. I read the title of the thing. I was like, we got to talk about it. So you get a real-time reaction. You guys, they're starting off saying we take the safety, right? It's probably going to be talking about taking the safety of our citizens or the Biden administration, whoever's visiting this place, seriously. It's one thing for documents to kind of be leaked somewhere, but the fact that people just found them lying on the street, like, you can't follow up and be like, well, we take your safety seriously. We really take classified documents seriously when they're freaking laying in the street. Here, let's read it. Let's see. We take the safety of our visiting dignitaries, members of the public, our safety officers and staff extremely seriously. God. Oh, it's so good. Holy crap, it gets hot. And we'll put the appropriate actions in place. Oh, it's too good. You can't make this up. In a statement obtained by Fox News, the U.S. Secret Service spokesman said the agency has been informed by the PSNI of media reports regarding a potentially sensitive document which may contain law enforcement material. While we do not discuss the specifics of any protective operation, the president's movements were not affected by these reports, he added, noting how you have this other special agent in charge of the Paris field office and the senior Secret Service official on the visit expressed her highest confidence in our Irish and European counterparts and partners on the ongoing security of this visit. So I don't know if Joe Biden just has this orb around him, this sense of anywhere he goes, there's just going to be documents falling behind him, like out of his pocket. I'm not really sure, but it just continues to get worse for this guy. And like I said, there's nothing really going on with the Biden administration, but we do have some news connected kind of to him traveling. So Biden was photographed meeting the British Prime Minister in Belfast on Wednesday, and the U.S. involvement was key to the negotiating the Good Friday Accord, which largely ended decades of sectarian violence that killed more than 3,600 people. While the peace has endured, Northern Ireland is currently without a functioning government, which is crazy. Stormont, the seat of its assembly, has been suspended since the Democratic Unionist Party, which formed half of a power-sharing government, walked out a year ago over post-Brexit trade dispute. Biden will meet Wednesday with Northern leaders in Ireland, the five main political parties. Now, prior to the president's trip, security concerns were heightened after gasoline bombs were lobbed at law enforcement by demonstrators in Derry and Londonderry, a hotspot of violence during the Troubles. God, it sounds a lot like Democrat-ran areas like California, Los Angeles, Washington, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, New York City. I mean, hell, Washington, D.C., you name it. It sounds a lot like those places. Police also foiled a bomb plot planned by the new IRA members ahead of Biden's visit. Diplomatic intentions aside, Biden also plans to meet with distant relatives, here you go, during the trip, as the family has frequently stated how important his Irish heritage was in shaping who he is. So we have the Irish to blame for Joe Biden and Joe Biden not being able to, read words correctly, lead a country correctly, really do anything right. And now we got documents just lying in the streets of Ireland. Isn't that just lovely? Well, having a little bit more fun today, we got this clip here of Elon Musk completely slaughtering a BBC reporter in an interview and calls him out. And the reason why I want to bring attention to this clip is because you see this from woke libs all the time, where they'll make a claim, even though Elon Musk is giving him the opportunity to utilize his anecdotal claim, meaning his own self-claim of what he's experienced in his own life. But what we see is they'll make a claim and then they're never able to support it. Even with, give one example and they can't do it. Let's go ahead and roll it. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, folks, support a true American patriot by doing so. Leave us a comment down below. Are you an Elon Musk fan?
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
I think the issue some people have is that a lot of people were brought back. I mean, some people were brought back who were previously banned for spreading things like QAnon conspiracies. You have people like Andrew Tate who were brought back, who were previously banned for things like hate speech. Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
Well, you know, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you are the arbiter on Twitter, because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? At the point at which you say that there is this is misinformation, like who is going to decide that?
You accept that misinformation can be dangerous, that it can cause real-world harms, that it can potentially cause...
Yeah, so the point I'm trying to make is that the BBC itself has, at times, published things that are false. Do you agree that that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true.
Correct.
In its, whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure.
Yes. Even if you aspire to be accurate, there are times when you will not be.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate
that
speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Watch this key segment right here, folks. This is where he completely destroys him, and this is where the woke libs, these progressive left that want to sit there and regulate your speech. And when you start regulating speech on the levels that they want to, no longer do you have free speech anymore. And you're seeing this movement on where the Democrat Party and progressive left and the Biden administration literally has already come out and said they want to remove your assault weapons. By removing your assault weapons, what they really mean is semi-automatic firearms, which is virtually everything. So once they start chiseling away and get to furthering removing that Second Amendment right, that's when they will really go hell-bent on removing that First Amendment right, and now you're screwed. And that's exactly what Elon Musk was starting off with, was once you don't have free speech, it's gone and it's never going to come back. Watch how he obliterates this guy right here.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I don't.
You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I.
We're going to continue here, but you're going to see this guy fumble through his words like he's Joe Biden or somebody from the Biden administration, like Karine Jean-Pierre or John Kirby. And he's going to walk back what he's saying. He's going to start applying it in different directions. The reason why I also want to highlight the fact of this guy using something anecdotal but can't explain one experience that he's had is because the progressive left do the exact same thing in terms of systemic racism. They'll just say, well, there's systemic racism out there. Okay, well, what are those systems and who in those systems are the actual racists? Like, who implemented them so we can band together and actually solve the issue, which is what you have Elon Musk trying to do here in terms of hate speech or whatever, going, hey, well, what exactly are you experiencing? Because he's trying to fix it. That's how this guy operates. He's in his head, he's trying to figure out, okay, this guy's talking about hate speech, talking about free speech. He's talking about misinformation. So obviously he doesn't like that. So how can I fix a problem that a customer of mine is having? And maybe we can resolve it. I mean, Elon Musk is obviously calling out his BS, but the progressive left will do this on many, many fronts here. Well, they'll make a giant claim about something. Oh, well, there's hate speech out there. Okay, well, what is hate speech and where and how are you experiencing this? Give me specific examples so we can fix it. There's systemic racism out there. Okay, well, what are those systems? What are those companies that are pushing systemic racism and oppressing people through that systemic racism, so that we can look into that corporation and see what regulations they have or what laws are on the books for that state or that county or that locality, whatever it may be. Who are the people that instituted those laws or those regulations or those rules in those corporations, cities, and states? And so we could find those people and work together to get rid of that racism, because we all agree that racism is evil. But when you start talking about regulating people's speech, you get into some really dicey territory there, because it's all about feelings. If you notice that, well, I feel this, I feel that. And when you get into regulating something that you feel, everybody's feelings are different. And not only that, everybody's feelings are different in every moment and every time. I mean, how many emotions do you go through throughout a day, which there have been studies on? Women go through vast majority more emotions throughout the day than a typical male does. But we can't talk about that even anymore, because no longer are you male or female, right? Now you can be gender fluid. You can move in between all sorts of things. It's nonsense. But key point here is shout something to the skies, not be able to support it with one iota of an example, even if it's anecdotal.
Just don't particularly like it.
But you
And
said
actually,
you-
a lot of people are quite similar. I only
Well,
look at
hang on a second.
following.
You said you've
my
seen
following.
more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Here we
Well,
go.
then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Exactly.
Right.
One
And
You
example.
can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
really.
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
That's false.
no. What I claimed,
just lied.
What I
Yes, he
claimed
did.
was there are many organizations that say that kind of information.
See how he's changing it now? You see this all the time from the progressive left. And I'm actually gonna talk about the book real quick, because there is a transcript in here between Malcolm Nance and Ben Shapiro when they're on a TV show called Real Time with Bill Maher, and they're talking about critical race theory. And we go through the transcript on how at first Malcolm Nance agrees with Ben Shapiro, and then as Ben Shapiro destroys him in the same way Elon Musk is destroying this gentleman from the BBC, they will switch the definition, and they will also change what they said. And then you see this happening in real time. Pick yourself up a copy, folks. It's called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You're seeing it in real time while this guy's lying straight to Elon Musk's face, making something up that didn't actually happen. Now, maybe it did happen in real life, but he doesn't have any supporting evidence of it. And if something was such a big impact on your life and you're experiencing it just all the time anecdotally, you would think that you'd have at least one idea of something that was said on your Twitter feed that made you just feel uncomfortable. But it's hate speech, it's misinformation, it's disinformation, it's Russian disinformation.
Is on the rise now. Whether it has on my
Give me
feed
one
or
example.
not. I mean, right, and
Literally
if you
can't
look at
name
something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
Look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a
Right.
single example, and you can't name one.
right, and as I've already said, I don't use that feed. But
Well, then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
That's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then
say,
how would
for
you
a
know there's
few
hateful
weeks.
content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Wow.
COVID misinformation. You
Amazing.
changed the COVID misinformation
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
Silence.
I'm literally
Has-
asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue. Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations, and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, you thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else. If you want to
I'm
talk about the
interviewing you
BBC,
too.
Now he wants to talk about something else. So that's how it works, right? Is it's just, let's talk about something else. Let's move on to something else. Let's transition here. Let's do this. Let's do that. When it's like, look, man, you and whoever you're with meaning the BBC, but other people, you're out there to sit there and regulate speech. Granted, it is the BBC, right? But even here in America, you're seeing the agenda of the progressive left, which is what we're trying to expose, the agenda to remove your rights and your liberties. Whenever you're thinking about instituting some sort of policy, you have to question, how does this affect somebody else's liberty? So when we're talking about the trans community, what are we instituting that's going to affect that person's liberty that wants to be trans? Now, from the most part, if there is an adult that wants to be trans, go be trans. If you want to lop off your genitals and castrate yourself, go do that. That is your life. It is not my life. In the same way, if you don't want to be religious, that's on you. I wish that you would pursue a faith and the great things that come along with it, not just the salvation, but the good types of morality and changing you as an individual and inherently allowing you to have a closer relationship with God than what you were previously. But that's for obviously another video. But I don't want to push my faith upon you. If you want to live out your own life, live out your own life. The issue is, again, you going after our children, you going after our rights to limit our speech, to limit the aspect of us bearing arms, to limit us being able to do what we want to do. And whenever we try to do what we want to do, whether that's through speech or different modes of carrying out our rights, is you want to sit there and tarnish that and ultimately remove it at some point. Now, you're chiseling away at it, and you have been doing so for at least 100 years. I mean, going back to even FDR's time, about building government, making it even bigger, encroaching upon our rights, would make our freaking founding fathers turn over in their graves if they heard what we're doing today. But the idea is, again, they want to chisel away your rights, they want to remove it, and then when you sit there and back them up, or back up your ideology, and you sit there and destroy their ideology by questioning their ideology, they want to sit there and transition away and don't want to actually talk about it anymore. You see that all the time, right? When you have a conversation with somebody and they're screaming at you, meaning a progressive leftist, and then you actually engage with them in conversation and disprove everything that they're saying, then all of a sudden, well, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's how it works. Moving into our last story of the day, some feel-good news here is you got Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, get in the chopper. Fills giant pothole in LA neighborhood after waiting weeks for help. He says this is crazy. It is crazy. It's the state of California, man, which you were governor of. And I would like to point out, he said he was a Republican when he was running. Arnold Schwarzenegger was not a Republican, folks. He was sitting there getting on the ticket because he needed the votes to get in. So actor turned politician Arnold Schwarzenegger took matters into his own hands when after the city did not repair a large pothole in his Los Angeles neighborhood. If you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, folks, please do so, because you're seeing how the left is destroying not just our localities and our states, but our country from the inside out. Leave us a comment down below. Is your locality, if you're in a blue state, heck, even if you're in a red state, let us know. Is your locality, your state, are they taking care of their roads? Because I live in California, specifically Orange County, the southern part of California, and our roads suck. And the reason why I bring this up is because if our roads suck here and we have the best weather in the country, by far, hands down, that's why everybody comes here. They don't come here because it smells like poop or because there's poop on the streets or people shooting up heroin on every city block. No, they come here because the weather is great. Now, if our weather's so good and our roads are some of the worst in the country, what do the roads look like in other states? Because from my experience of traveling to almost every other state with hockey, your roads are pretty damn good compared to ours. So now what we're having to do is fix our own roads. But are your roads pristine? Are they clear? Do they look freaking? Are they look pristine and nice and gorgeous where your taxpayer dollars are at work, as Trump would say? Let us know in the comment section below. We have a video clip here of actual Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, filling these potholes here in one moment. The former Republican governor of California posted a video to social media of himself pouring concrete into a hole to fix it up. Quote, today, after the whole neighborhood has been upset about this giant pothole that's been screwing up cars and bicycles for weeks, I went out with my team and fixed it. So there's a clip here on Twitter of Schwarzenegger fixing these potholes here. I'm going to play it for you in just one moment. And it's so interesting that I actually stumbled upon this article because literally I have a buddy that I'm working with that hit a pothole in California on the way to work last week. And he had to repair his tire, or at least put on a spare tire in the parking structure for where I work. So it's amazing how we're talking about potholes here because they're everywhere around California, and he got a flat tire due to one. So now you have citizens that pay taxpayer dollars to get this stuff repaired that have to spend their own money to repair something of which they're already paying for. Typical Democrat ran areas. Pretty good music. All right, there we go. So for those that are listening, I guess this is called concrete. It looks like asphalt, but you got the Schwarzenegger there on this Terminator glasses. They're filling the whole. It's actually a pretty big.
You're welcome.
I've seen bigger in my area. That's for sure. That's what she said. But
3 weeks I've been waiting for this hole to be closed.
Thank you. Bye.
as a lady's driving a BMW. Folks, this is probably a bougie area, I'd imagine. Hold on a second. Can we go back a little bit? If you look where his feet are, it looks like they were doing some road work previously, and whoever did the road work previously just didn't fill in and do their job correctly. We see this from Caltrans in California all the time. No joke, there's always construction work going on in the state of California, and you never actually see anybody working. Somebody back me up here if you live in California, whether it's southern or northern. I never see anybody working, like ever. There's always construction going on, nobody working. So now you got somebody that clearly did some sort of road work here and didn't even fill it in correctly. And so you're having somebody spend their own money repairing for something that probably the city did and didn't do their job correctly. Typical. Why does he look like he's struggling? I mean, Arnold's old. Let's give the guy a break, okay? Yeah, clearly there was road work done. They just didn't fill it in correctly. Lovely. The government does everything right, you guys. So now he's pouring what looks like, I don't know if that's sawdust or dirt on the hole, but hey, you know what? Good on him for actually doing something in his community. And we need to see more of that, to be quite frank. We need to see more people going out and doing things for the community, because that's exactly what our nation was built around. People doing things for their community. And we've seen kind of a flip-flop. Before, how it used to work was if you needed help or you wanted to get something done, you would look to a family member to either help you or help them out. Then you would go to the larger family as a whole. Then you would go to your neighbor, like literally your next door neighbor or somebody that lives on the street, to ask for help. Then after that, then you would go to your local church or synagogue to seek after help or to get something done. After that, then you go to your locality, whether that's your mayor or councilman or woman. Then after that, you go to the state level and look at the senator of that area or that district, or the congressman or congresswoman of that district. Then after that, then you go to the federal level. Now it's completely flip-flopped, and you can thank the Democrat Party for this. It's now, well, let's see what the federal government, the president, can do for us, which isn't how things are supposed to be done. And then, well, let's see what my senator of my state can do, then my governor of my state. Let's see what they can then do for me on a state level. And then we'll look at the local level. And then we'll look at our churches and synagogues, which we all know basically faith and religion is just going downhill exponentially here in America. Then after that, then I'll ask my neighbor, which isn't going to happen. And then after that, I'll ask a family member, which isn't going to happen. And then after that, who else knows? But basically, the Democrat Party has completed a massive bleep storm in our society and our culture here in Americans flip-flop things, of which isn't supposed to be. So the video showed a woman slowing her car down to thank him as he worked on filling the pothole. I mean, honestly, you probably could have given the guy some $5. You're driving a nice BMW, but who knows? She could be in debt herself, probably bought a car that she couldn't afford. Who knows? I mean, that's a bougie area. She probably bought it cash for all the hell I know. Well, here's the thing. Los Angeles Democratic Mayor Karen Bass, who I've actually seen speak before she was ever popular. I think this was in I want to say I was in Compton at the time. I was in some bar and she was giving a talk there, and it was a terrible talk. Let me just tell you, it was all about race and pushing out all this oppression that's happening and all this other stuff. Mind you, she's the mayor of Los Angeles, but she's being oppressed, you guys. Said at a press conference last week that the city is working diligently to address similar problems throughout the city. I've been hearing this for like 20 years, by the way. The same exact messaging I've been listening to for freaking 20 years from every Democrat that's ever spoken in this county. Now, I'd also like to point out the fact that Democrats keep voting for these idiots that aren't fixing anything because they love driving through potholes. And then when somebody's actually fixing it, they go, oh, thank you. Yeah, you could have just probably voted Republican and probably get it done. Well, city workers are pulling out all the stops, but not just to prepare for every pothole that is reported, but also to be proactive about it. That means driving around the city, throughout the district, and all others to assess the conditions of our streets and identify and repair the damage right away. Why were you not doing this already? We are literally the highest tax state in the union, or at least in the top 5 for sure. And we have the worst roadways ever. The amount of tax that we pay, we literally pay tax, you guys, on our gasoline here. I think we pay like 50 cents for every gallon in tax. That's supposed to go to our roadways to fix it, on top of already what we pay outside of paying for gas to pay for our roadways. We're getting so ripped off in this state, it's head spinning. On ABC News reported from last week that the Bureau of Street Services, who even knew there was such a thing, received 19,279 requests since December to fix potholes throughout the city. Of those, they said to have repaired 17,132. Now, repaired, not actually fixed, right? Here's the thing. Well, let's throw some dirt in the hole. It's repaired. It's figured out. No, it's not. I mean, this stuff's popping up everywhere. It's terrible. Bass also made headlines in December while dealing with the entirely different issue in Los Angeles. The left politician said she planned to eliminate homelessness, which we've heard of countless times, by providing shelter for anyone living on the streets. To give you an idea of how much this is going to cost, they want to basically take these shipping containers that you see on the cargo ships out there in the ports, or you see on trucks driving through your local areas, and they want to convert them into housing for homeless people, basically to live free. Do you just want to throw out a number on how much do you think it's going to cost per one to build? Just in the live chat, but also in the comment section, just take 5 seconds right now. Think of a number. Don't research it. Just take a guess. How much do you think it's going to be to build one of these units? Just one. Just throw out a random number. 5,000. I mean, it's cheap, right? Is it 10,000? 15? Like, how much do you think? Again, it's going to cost the taxpayer to build one container that's going to house some homeless people. Probably a homeless person. Okay, so everybody got their numbers in, right? Everybody got it in the comment section below, not just live chat, but comment section. It's going to cost anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000 to do this. Yes, you heard me correctly. $600,000 per container. But government does everything right, you guys. They do it the best way. You get quality from government. You also get the cheapest type of stuff, which is amazing because you have the Democrats want to push universal health care. Well, it's cheap, but the quality's ass. Quote, no, these are not sweeps at all. This is getting people to move on their own. But then after the person leaves, sanitation is absolutely going to have to be there, she said of the plan. No question about it. But this is not coercing people. This is not ticketing people or incarcerating people. This is moving people from tents to hotels or motels. By the way, they've already tried this in Orange County. It didn't really work. Furthermore, they tried this over the course of decades. It didn't work. These people want to be on the streets, and sometimes they're being even incentivized to be on the streets. What's also interesting is, she says they're not ticketing people or incarcerating people. I guarantee you, if I were to go park on the street right now in Los Angeles, I would be ticketed. I would be 100% ticketed, but a guy could park his RV on the street with full bedding on the street, like on the curb, okay, curb and street, full walls, steal electricity from a building. Actually, you could see the cord itself. They'll have lamps outside, full dresser drawers. Basically take your room or your living room and put it on the street or on the curb that's also going into the street. You won't be ticketed then. They actually encourage that behavior. But if I were to do that, I would be ticketed. My car would be towed. I'd probably be incarcerated. I would probably have to pay the city to clean that up as well. But if you're homeless for some reason and you're a Democrat, I just 100% get away with it. Oh, and by the way, here's like $600, a free cell phone. Here's a meal plan. Here's a ticket to go into a hotel that's offered by the taxpayers as well. Oh, that pothole over there that you're taking a dump in? Oh, don't even worry about that. We'll just have that filled in by all the dumps and syringes that we're going to pick up off the street. Don't worry about it one bit. The Democrats suck at everything. They're going to continue to suck at everything, and people are going to still vote for it because they love it, and then they'll bitch about it later because they're having to sit in it. And then once they're tired of sitting in it and living in this swampo place called California and Los Angeles, then they'll move to a red area where all you live, and then they're going to make that a dumpster fire as well and vote in the same policies of which crippled Los Angeles, Orange County, the state of California, and other great states that used to be great states. Well, folks, that's enough rambling from me today. I hope you enjoyed this long form episode. Thanks for always hanging out with me in the mornings. Have a fabulous time. We got an awesome community. If you haven't already, pick up yourself a copy of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Link is in the description. If you already bought it and you're reading it, folks, and even if you like it, or hell, even if you don't like it, leave us a 5-star review and buy it for a Democrat friend, buy it for a family member that you're trying to red pill. We got to be careful with the red pill now because according to the FBI, you're extremist and they're actually going to investigate you if you use the word red pill or anything like that. So furthermore, we have a join tab down below. If you haven't checked that out, join us up. Become a true American patriot. We got an awesome community. There's people who's already in the live chat with their emojis. They got badges on there. Awesome people. Make some great friends. Support a true American patriot. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bo Brat Show.